Hey, what are you doing? What? Oh, I'm just studying the Switch's perfect design. That sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Now move over, I want to join you. I know it's April, but when have my videos ever been close to an event I'm talking about? Yeah, I thought so. The Nintendo Switch is 6 years old. That's amazing and not so amazing at the same time. Amazing because 6 whole years passed with this console. Not so amazing because this is probably the last year with it. So if there really is a new console on the horizon, do we really need it? How I will determine this is by going over 2 things before coming to a conclusion. I will look at the good parts of the Switch where I focus on what the Switch did right and what it's still doing right, and the bad parts of the Switch where I focus on the parts the Switch didn't do so well and a new console would do better on. Bear in mind, this is what I think, so do comment down below what you think. So now, what did the Switch do right? If you're a Switch owner, you may relate to me on some of the points I make here. But first, have you ever thought that the Switch felt old? 6 entire years have passed. If this were a human, it would be going to 1st grade now. This console existed for 6 whole years of your lives. Just how old were you when it came out? I was 13. I'm turning 20 this year. If you think the Switch doesn't feel old, then there you have it. The Switch was able to feel timeless. Only a couple of consoles can achieve that. The Wii, PS2, and the DS are just to name a few. All the memories that this console was able to create. It feels somewhat surreal, and the fact that it's still going this strong is pretty remarkable. Believe it or not, this console sold more than the Wii. It's not too far from reaching the DS, and it may even overtake the PS2 someday. And when you think about how long the PS2 has been active in terms of getting support, it only makes you wonder if Nintendo would do the same. But these numbers show that it's not a small number of people experiencing this console. So many of us share timeless memories with it. Every Nintendo console has a gimmick to it. The NES and SNES are pretty standard, but they were trying to make video games something normal to have at households. The N64 had a weird controller which was trying to make analog controls rather than a D-pad. The Virtual Boy was trying to make VR a thing. It didn't really succeed. The GameCube was trying to make a portable console with its tiny size and the inclusion of a handle. The Wii popularized motion controls in a console and really made it stand out in its games. The Wii U was attempting to make a hybrid console by making a tablet that you can use around the console without the need of a TV. And the Switch one-upped the Wii U by making a console that is a hybrid between a home console and a handheld. This is the only console out there where you can take it outside, detach the controllers from its sides, and put the console itself in a tabletop mode where you can play its games using its screen. If that idea doesn't sound appealing to you, I don't know what is. By going back to the number of sold consoles I showed earlier, it's pretty obvious that many people thought this was cool too. I promise you that you will find many people who own a PlayStation, Xbox, or a PC own a Switch as well. Not only can you play it like a handheld, but you can have a controller that doesn't even need to be connected, allowing you to play with your way of comfort. Did I mention the fact that the controllers also have motion controls? Of course, since I'm talking about the good parts of the Switch, I have to mention the games. Right off the bat, this console has such amazing games on it. Smash, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, 2 Splatoon titles, 2 Xenoblade titles, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Kirby and the Forgotten Kingdom, Bayonetta 3, 2 Fire Emblems, a bunch of remakes and remasters, and the list goes on and on. That was only the Nintendo exclusive titles. This console also has a great support of third-party titles too. It may not be as amazing as PlayStation, Xbox, or PC, but for a Nintendo console, it's far from bad. There are people literally playing Fortnite and Apex on this console. Is there anything more insane than that? This is a console that is more than convenient to anyone, and if this was their only console, then it would be enough for them. Man, this makes me feel more thankful towards the Switch.
All that sounds good and all, but what about what the Switch missed on? This console is far from perfect. Every console is, but this console's behind in some areas. Take its online service. Nintendo Switch Online is not a terrible idea. Of course, the fact that you have to pay for an online service sucks, but there are things to make up for this factor, right?
Not really.
There are two types of this service you can get, Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack. Both giving you certain services, with the expansion pack giving you more but for a bigger price. When this service first came out, it was only the standard Nintendo Switch Online service that existed. It provides the ability to play online in games, duh, but also you can save progress to the cloud, have access to the Nintendo Switch Online app, have special offers that only come from time to time, and the ability to play NES games. Would you pay $20 for that? It's not terrible, sure, so I don't think the price is unjustified, especially at the fact that the netcode in these games isn't amazing to begin with. But the problem comes with the expansion pack. At this point, access to play SNES games existed, but what this pack includes is everything the standard includes, alongside the ability to play N64, Sega Genesis, and Game Boy Advance games, and the ability to get the DLCs to Animal Crossing, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Splatoon 2. All that for $50. Again, I guess you can justify the price with the fact that you can play all these Nintendo games with this service, but at the same time, you wouldn't buy online services to play old titles. Many people would buy it to play online, which at the end of the day, isn't the greatest in this console.
Maybe I'll stick with the $20 a year.
An obvious thing that gets brought up with the Switch's flaws is the fact that its hardware is behind. Of course it would, because when you look at the purpose of the console, and if it had PS4 hardware, a couple of factors would be less appealing to the market. First of all, it would be much more expensive. The Switch OLED is $350, only $50 more for a better display and a better dock. But if you put better hardware into the console, it would be closer to $500 in price, especially at the fact that the console is supposed to be small and allows you to take it anywhere like a handheld console. It would make it hard to develop and it would have a less appealing price. And second, this console would probably be bigger than it is. I don't doubt the fact that it's not impossible to make PS4 hardware fit into a Switch size, but in 2017, I would. So if this were made with better hardware in 2017, I don't think it would reach its goal and be small enough to fit a pocket. But the fact that this console doesn't have the best hardware to work with makes some games not be able to look as good or even get ported to it. And with the Steam Deck's existence, I don't see why a future Nintendo console would struggle to have at the bare minimum better graphics than a PS3 and maybe even borderline PS4 graphics. I want to make this one short, but Joy-Con drift is also a thing that exists. Many people had to go through the hardships of your Joy-Con deciding not to comply, and I still have this problem. However, Nintendo did offer to fix this problem, and if you buy new Joy-Cons now, the problem will not really be there. But it makes me wonder, how many people had to buy new Joy-Cons or send their Joy-Cons to Nintendo just to have this problem fixed to begin with? And I hear that the problem isn't completely gone. But then again, I wouldn't know since I haven't done anything to try and fix it. There's also a lack of themes. Why include this if there are only 2? After 6 whole years! Now that there are points made for both sides, I think it's a good time to decide whether the Switch should still get support or we should get ready for a new console. In a new Nintendo console, we can already expect better hardware, some sort of gimmick, and some improvements to what was presented in this console. We can also expect it to be a little more pricey since Tears of the Kingdom already is showing that Nintendo is ready to raise their prices a bit. So all the problems I've talked about will be solved. But let's put ourselves in a scenario where there are 2 possibilities in 2024. The possibility of a new console being announced and even released, and the possibility of nothing being announced if we still continue with the Switch. Although I do love both possibilities, I would say it is indeed time for a new console. In 2024, the Switch will be 7 years old, and although there will be no real challenge in continuing its support, there will be for future games. We're at a time where games are ready to look amazing and go all out with the content included. I promise that even Tears of the Kingdom is going to do the same. So with that in mind, it should be safe to assume that, yes, we must move on and it's time for a new console.
I would be pretty sad if the Switch stopped getting support next year, but I'd also be pretty excited for what's next. The Switch is an amazing console that easily deserves its success, so I'd only hope that the next console is willing to follow the Switch's footsteps. But am I really ready to say goodbye to this console? If Mario Kart 9, a new Smash game, and better online is the price to pay, then take my money.